Imagine a shark so massive it hunted whales like snacks. Megalodon wasn't normal in size, speed, or power, and once you see the numbers, you'll understand why nature never repeated it. A tooth the size of a human hand, not sharp like a blade, serrated, built to tear through bone the way a chainsaw cuts through wood. Scientists found it embedded in the rib of a prehistoric whale. The rib itself was thicker than a man's torso, and the tooth had punched clean through. Whatever left that mark wasn't hunting, it was dismantling. Please like, comment, and subscribe as we explore the Megalodon together. Most people think they understand Megalodon, a big shark, an ancient predator, the ocean's most famous extinct monster. But the fossil record tells a different story. It reveals something far stranger. Something that didn't just live in the prehistoric ocean, it rewrote the rules of what a predator could be. Because nothing about the Megalodon was normal. Not its size, not its bite, not the way it hunted, not the scars it left across millions of years of evolutionary history, and certainly not the reason it disappeared. The name itself is a clue. Otodus megalodon, megatooth. For over a century, those teeth were the only evidence we had. Hundreds of them scattered across every continent, found in riverbeds, quarries, and ocean floors, some over 7 inches long. Fossils so perfectly preserved they still looked sharp. But here's what most people miss. Sharks don't fossilize well. Their skeletons are made of cartilage, not bone. It dissolves, it vanishes. When a shark dies, the ocean erases almost everything except the teeth. That's why shark fossils are so rare, and why Megalodon remained a mystery for so long. For decades, scientists only had teeth, thousands of them. But teeth can only tell you so much. They can tell you what the animal ate, how it bit, but they can't tell you how big it was, how it moved, how it lived. But that changed in the 1990s. Paleontologists working in Belgium found something extraordinary. Vertebrae. Megalodon vertebrae. Fossilized cartilage that had somehow survived millions of years. Each one the size of a dinner plate. Thick, dense, perfectly intact. And when researchers measured the spacing between them, they realized the truth. This animal was over 50 feet long. Some specimens likely exceeded 60. To put that in perspective, a great white shark, the largest predatory shark alive today, reaches about 20 feet. Megalodon was 3 times that size, maybe more. But size alone doesn't explain what made it abnormal, because the ocean has seen large predators before. Whales are larger. Some prehistoric marine reptiles were comparable in length. What made Megalodon different wasn't just that it was big, it was what that size allowed it to do. In 2008, researchers at the University of New South Wales ran a series of biomechanical simulations. They wanted to understand how Megalodon's jaws actually functioned. They modeled the skull based on fossil evidence, the musculature, the leverage points, the bite mechanics, and then they calculated the bite force. The results were unsettling. Megalodon could bite down with a force of over 40,000 pounds per square inch. That's roughly 10 times the bite force of a great white. It's more powerful than a Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's more powerful than a saltwater crocodile. In fact, it's one of the most powerful bites ever recorded in the history of life on Earth. But the force itself wasn't the strangest part. It was what that force allowed the animal to do. Modern sharks bite and thrash. They tear, they wound and wait. They rely on blood loss, shock. The prey weakens, and then the shark feeds. It's effective, but it's messy, and it takes time. Megalodon didn't need to wait. Fossil evidence shows bite marks on whale bones that aren't just deep, they're catastrophic. Ribs snapped clean in half, vertebrae crushed into fragments, entire sections of skeleton removed in a single bite. This wasn't predation in the traditional sense. This was industrial-level destruction. One fossil, discovered off the coast of North Carolina, showed the remains of a baleen whale. The species has been extinct for millions of years, but the skeleton told a story. It had been almost completely dismembered. The bite marks were clean, precise, as if something had understood exactly where to apply pressure to take the animal apart. The flippers were gone, the tail was severed, the rib cage was opened like a clamshell. That's not how sharks hunt. That's not how anything hunts. And it gets stranger. Modern great white sharks are ambush predators. They attack from below. They rely on surprise and speed. They target soft tissue, the belly, the throat. They're efficient, but they're opportunistic. Megalodon was different. The bite marks on fossilized whale bones show a pattern. Megalodon didn't attack randomly. It went for the flippers first, the tail, the pectoral fins, the parts of the body that controlled movement. It didn't try to kill the whale immediately. It immobilized it. One study, published in Biology Letters, analyzed bite marks on a fossil whale flipper. The damage was so severe that researchers concluded the whale would have been incapable of swimming after the first strike. The bones were crushed, the muscles destroyed. The whale would have bled out, slowly, and Megalodon would have circled, waited, then fed at its leisure. This wasn't the behavior of a mindless predator. This was strategy, calculation, and understanding of anatomy that shouldn't exist in a shark. Because sharks aren't supposed to think. They react. They follow instinct. But Megalodon's hunting patterns suggest something else. It learned. And then there's the teeth themselves. Because even among sharks, Megalodon's teeth were abnormal. A great white shark grows and sheds thousands of teeth over its lifetime. Each tooth lasts a few weeks or months, then falls out. It's replaced immediately by a new one growing in behind it. This is standard for all sharks. It's an evolutionary solution to wear and tear. But Megalodon's teeth were different. They were thicker, heavier. The serrations were deeper and more pronounced. The cutting edges weren't just sharp, they were reinforced. And the roots, the part of the tooth that anchored into the jaw, were enormous. Some fossil teeth have roots that are longer than the visible crown. These teeth weren't designed to fall out easily. They were built to endure. Some researchers believe Megalodon could exert so much bite force that weaker teeth would have shattered under the pressure, so the teeth evolved to handle it. They became weapons that could withstand their own power. But that raises a question that haunted paleontologists for years. If Megalodon was this powerful, this efficient, this dominant, what was it eating that required this level of force? The answer is everywhere in the fossil record. Whales. Not small whales, not the sleek, fast species we see today. Big whales, slow whales, whales that had no defense except size. And even that wasn't enough. Between 23 and 3.6 million years ago, the Miocene and Pliocene epochs, the ocean was a very different place. It was warmer, the currents were different, and it was full of whales. Baleen whales, toothed whales, species that no longer exist. Some rivaled the size of modern blue whales. Others were smaller, but existed in massive numbers. And Megalodon ate them all.
Fossil sites around the world tell the same story. Whale bones with Megalodon bite marks over and over again. In some cases, multiple bite marks on a single skeleton, evidence of repeated attacks, or scavenging, or both. But here's what makes it strange. Megalodon didn't hunt everything. It's specialized. Most apex predators are generalists. They eat whatever is available. Lions hunt zebras, wildebeest, buffalo. Orcas eat fish, seals, sharks, whales. They adapt. Megalodon didn't adapt. It focused. It targeted the largest animals in the ocean, and the evidence suggests it did so with disturbing efficiency. One fossil whale skeleton found in Maryland shows over 30 separate bite marks, all of them from the same type of tooth, all of them consistent with Megalodon. The whale's spine was shattered in 3 places. Its ribs were crushed. Its skull was intact, but the rest of the body had been systematically destroyed. The researchers who studied it concluded that this wasn't a quick kill. This was prolonged, deliberate. Megalodon had learned that it didn't need to kill a whale immediately. It just needed to stop it from escaping. And once it did that, time was on its side. But specialization comes with a cost, and Megalodon was about to pay it. Because while Megalodon perfected its strategy, the ocean was changing. Slowly at first, then faster. Around 10 million years ago, something began to shift. The continents were moving. The Isthmus of Panama started to form, separating the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Ocean currents changed. Temperatures fluctuated. And the whales, those massive, slow-moving prey species that Megalodon depended on, began to evolve. Some species went extinct. Others migrated. Many began to develop new behaviors, faster swimming, deeper diving. Some started traveling in pods for protection. And here's the critical part. Megalodon couldn't follow all of them. Because Megalodon, for all its power, had limitations. First, it was big. And being big has consequences. A 60-foot shark needs an enormous amount of energy just to survive. Some researchers estimate that an adult Megalodon would have needed to consume over 2,500 pounds of wheat per day, every single day, just to maintain its metabolism. That's the equivalent of eating an entire seal every hour, or one large whale every few days. And because Megalodon was so large, it couldn't hunt small prey efficiently. It would burn more energy chasing a school of fish than it would gain from eating them. It needed whales, big ones, all the time. Second, it was warm-blooded, or at least partially. Most sharks are cold-blooded. Their body temperature matches the water around them. But Megalodon, like the great white, likely had regional endothermy. It could warm certain parts of its body, its muscles, its brain, to stay active in cooler water. But that ability has limits. If the water gets too cold, even a warm-blooded shark slows down. Its metabolism drops. It becomes sluggish. And in the open ocean, sluggish means dead. So when the Earth's climate began to cool, Megalodon had a problem. The whales it hunted started migrating to colder waters, polar regions, places where the food was abundant but the temperatures were too low for Megalodon to follow efficiently. And in the warmer waters where Megalodon thrived, the whales were disappearing. Some species went extinct, others evolved. The survivors became faster, smarter, harder to catch. And here's the critical part. Megalodon couldn't follow all of them. Around 5 million years ago, the fossil record shows a shift.
Megalodon teeth become less common. The geographic range shrinks. Fossils that were once found worldwide start appearing only in specific regions, coastal areas, warmer waters. It's a pattern that paleontologists recognize. It's the pattern of a species in decline. But Megalodon didn't disappear immediately. It held on. For another million years, it survived. Smaller populations, limited range, but still there. And then, around 3.6 million years ago, something changed. The Earth entered a period of rapid climate shift. Ice ages began to cycle. Ocean temperatures dropped sharply. Sea levels fluctuated. The entire structure of marine ecosystems was disrupted, and Megalodon couldn't keep up. There's a fossil site in Peru that captures the moment. Layers of sediment from 3.6 million years ago contain Megalodon teeth,
lots of them. But just above that layer, in rocks that are slightly younger, maybe a few 100,000 years, there's nothing. No teeth, no vertebrae, no trace. Megalodon didn't slowly fade away. It vanished. And the ocean has never seen anything like it since. Here's the part that doesn't get talked about enough. Modern great white sharks didn't exist during Megalodon's reign. They appeared after it went extinct. Some scientists believe great whites only became apex predators because Megalodon left a vacuum. The same is true for orcas. Modern orcas are incredibly intelligent. They hunt cooperatively. They pass down knowledge through generations. They're one of the ocean's most successful predators, but they only rose to dominance after Megalodon was gone. The same pattern appears across the entire food chain. Modern baleen whales, blue whales, humpbacks, gray whales, all evolved in a post-Megalodon world. They're faster than their ancestors, more migratory, more adaptable, because the slow, easy targets went extinct with Megalodon. We think of the ocean as timeless, unchanging, a place where the same struggles have played out for hundreds of millions of years. But that's not true. The ocean we know today is a post-Megalodon world. It's an ecosystem that evolved in the absence of the most dominant predator to ever exist. And that raises an uncomfortable question. What would happen if something like Megalodon existed now? The answer is it couldn't. Not because the ocean is too small, or because modern predators would compete, but because the entire system has changed. There isn't enough food. Modern whales are fewer in number, faster, and more intelligent. They migrate thousands of miles. They dive deeper. They communicate across vast distances. A Megalodon hunting strategy that worked 5 million years ago wouldn't work today. The ocean is also colder in many regions. The polar ice caps are larger, at least for now. That means less habitable space for a warm water predator like Megalodon. And then there's competition. Orcas hunt in packs. They've been observed killing great white sharks just to eat their livers. A single Megalodon might overpower a single orca, but a pod of orcas? That's a different fight. And finally, there's us. Humans have removed more biomass from the ocean in the last century than any predator in history. We've overfished, polluted, disrupted migration routes. The ocean today is less abundant than it was even 50 years ago. Megalodon needed abundance. It needed stability. It needed the ocean to stay the same. And the ocean never stays the same. Megalodon wasn't just big. It was the product of a very specific set of conditions. The right climate, the right prey, the right moment in evolutionary history. It evolved to exploit a niche that no longer exists. And when that niche disappeared, so did Megalodon. It didn't lose to a rival. It didn't get hunted to extinction. It didn't starve in a sudden cataclysm. It simply became incompatible with the world it lived in. That's the real story. Not a monster, not a myth. An animal so powerful, so specialized, so perfectly adapted to its environment that it couldn't survive anywhere else. And in the history of life on Earth, that's not unusual. It's the rule. There's a concept in evolutionary biology called the Red Queen hypothesis. It comes from Alice in Wonderland. The Red Queen tells Alice, it takes all the running you can do to keep in the same place. In evolution, it means that species have to constantly adapt just to survive. The environment changes, prey evolves, competitors evolve, and if you stop adapting, you disappear. Megalodon stopped adapting, not because it chose to, but because it had optimized itself so completely that there was no room left for change. It had become the perfect predator for a world that no longer existed. And that's the paradox. The trait that made Megalodon successful, its extreme specialization, was the same trait that killed it. Because evolution doesn't reward perfection, it rewards flexibility. And Megalodon had none. There's a fossil in the Smithsonian, a Megalodon jaw reconstruction. It's massive, wide enough to fit a full-grown human inside. When you stand in front of it, you feel something strange. Not fear, not awe, pity. Because this creature didn't fail because it was weak. It failed because it was too successful. It evolved to dominate so completely that there was no backup plan, no alternative strategy, no room to adapt when the world changed. And in the end, the ocean moved on without it. The whales survived, the sharks survived, even the prey survived. But the apex predator, the thing that ruled for 20 million years, disappeared. And no one noticed. Not immediately, because the ocean doesn't remember. It doesn't mourn. It just fills the space with something else. We like to think of evolution as progress, a ladder, species climbing towards something better, something stronger. But Megalodon proves it's not. Evolution is adaptation, and sometimes being the strongest thing alive isn't enough. Sometimes the world just stops needing you. And when it does, no amount of power will save you. Megalodon ruled the oceans for 20 million years. 20 million years of dominance, of perfect kills, of an ecosystem bent around its existence. And then, it was gone. We've been here for 300,000 years, a fraction of that time, a blink. And we're already changing the planet faster than it can adapt. We're removing species, altering climates, reshaping ecosystems in ways we don't fully understand. Maybe we should pay attention to what happened to the last apex predator that couldn't change with the world. Because the fossil record is full of creatures that thought they were too big to fail. And every single one of them was wrong. The ocean remembers what happens when something too powerful forgets how to evolve. It remembers Megalodon. And someday, it might remember us too.